Hey guys, how's it going? We're going to go through problems numbers 9 through 16 on the packet. I'll make a separate video for the problems that are 1 through 16 on that next lesson. Let's hop right into it. So we're looking for f of g of 0. So one thing that I mentioned in class when we wrote this down is you always start with the inside. The inside there is going to be g of 0. So we're looking to find g of 0. Now this guy right here, that is g of x. So g of x means that you're going to take this x here and it's going to get multiplied by 2 and then subtracted by 2. So if I have an x right there and it's become a 0, that means that this x right here will become a 0. Make sure you always use those parentheses. Feel free to use a calculator for the next step. You're, again, able to use Desmos. You can use your calculator at school. You can use your phone. Doesn't matter to me. But 2 times 0 is 0. And then minus 2 is negative 2. However, the question itself wanted us to find f of g of 0. I'm going to write it again. You don't need to write it again on your paper if you don't want to. I'm going to write it again to make a point here that g of 0 is negative 2. So that means I can rewrite this g of 0 here. This guy here is a negative 2. So that's what we just found. And f of negative 2, well, f is up here. I'm going to making this x into a negative 2, which means that this x becomes a negative 2. So that x right there became a negative 2. And this x becomes a negative 2. Again, use your calculator to help you do it. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. And 4 plus 4 is 8. To write your final answer in the neatest way, I recommend rewriting the entire thing one last time. F of g of 0 is equal to 8. And this is really that perfect way to write that answer. Let's keep it moving on to number 10. So on number 10, it says f of n is 3n plus 5, and it wants us to find f of negative 6. So we're going to start right there. We're going to do that inside guy right there. We're starting with f of negative 6. And that's going to be 3. And then instead of an n, we're going to write a negative 6. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. And negative 18 and 5 is negative 13. That's what f of negative 6 is. But the question wanted us to find f of negative 6. But we just figured out that f of negative 6 right there, that inside guy, is equal to 13. So we have f of negative 13, which is going to be 3 times negative 13 plus 5. 3 times negative 13, negative 39, and 5 is negative 34. And again, to write that perfect answer, let's write the original problem. F of negative 6 is negative 34. Continuing on, just a reminder that you are able to do all these questions on Desmos, and they will all the work will be done for you if you decide to use Desmos. So let's check that out. So, hope you can't see what's on my screen right now. Desmos, okay, here we go. There's my Desmos buddy, and let's do this button. All right, so we are looking to do this guy right here. Before we start, we have to remember what f in that little circle means. It means f of g of negative 5. And on this one, you can actually just type in the whole thing, and it will literally do it for you. F of x is 4x minus 1. G of x is x squared minus 3. And if we type it in as it appears, f of g of negative 5, boom, work is done for us. It tells us the answer right away is 87. Now, obviously, that doesn't really show us enough work, and it might not help us on the test because we're not allowed to use Desmos, but please let us know that it's there. Let's check it, and let's do the work for it. So actually doing it, again, we're going to start with that inside, g of negative 5. That means that this x right there is going to become a negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25, and 25 minus 3 is 22. Again, please use that calculator to your advantage. And now we're going to look for f of g of negative 5. So we're doing f of 22, which is 4 times 22 minus 1. 4 times 22 is 88. 88 minus 1 is 87, just like we said. Let's circle this as our right answer. Very cool. Number 12, exactly the same concept. So we're going to start off by rewriting as g of negative 7, which means that we need to first plug negative 7 into g. So g of negative 7 is 4 times negative 7 plus 4. Negative 7 times 4 is negative 28, plus 4 is negative 24. But the question doesn't want that. It wants us to plug g of negative 7 back in. So g of negative 24, because we're bringing this g down, equals, and we have 4 times negative 24 plus 4. Oh, that's going to be 4 times negative 24, negative 96, and 4 is negative 92. Beautiful. Let's move on to the next page. 4 more questions to tackle. So students get a little bit afraid sometimes when you see these ones because they're all letters, but it's going to be okay. And in some ways, these are actually easier. So let's check this out. So we have this g of t. That's where we're going to start, just like the last question. But g of t is 2t minus 1. So we can immediately rewrite this as f of 2t minus 1. So I'm going to repeat that. We started with f of g of t. So g of t is 2t minus 1. So this g of t became 2t minus 1. Then, when you're doing these questions, I always recommend to go back up here and remind ourselves what things are going to look like. Anytime we have a question that has f of something in this problem, oh, that's really bad writing. F of something in this question, it's going to be negative 4 times that something minus 2. So when you're doing this question, you could do exactly the same thing. F of something is negative 4 times that something minus 2, because that's where the t's were. But what are we slotting in? We're slotting in this 2t minus 1. And again, this class is enough for my class, but the answer key in the back, and some future college professors might require it. Negative 4 times negative 4 here, negative 8t. Negative 4 times positive, negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4 minus 2. And then negative 8t plus 2, adding those like terms. And again, try to use the original notation when you're doing your final answer. F of g of t is what the question wanted, and that's what it got. Let's continue it up. G of x. So g of x here is x plus 2. So you're replacing, again, that inside with what g of x is, x plus 2. And just like that previous question, it's sometimes helpful to leave a blank spot where you're going to be putting that x. Do the same thing, put a blank spot, put a blank spot, and it's being filled in with x plus 2. One of my students before was asking me, how do I simplify this if I needed to? And here, you have to use what is called the associative property. The associative property is a property of addition that says you don't have to put the parentheses in any particular order if everything is addition. And here it is. So I can just move the parentheses around or just take them away, and you get x plus 4. Let's finish it up. I'm going to remind you, try to do problems on your own first. So you should be attempting 15 and 16 on your own to make sure you get it, because those are the last 2 chances you're going to get to practice before you have to do it, a week or 2 from now. And we'll get back from October break for a test review. So we have g of h of n. So instead of writing h of n, we're going to write what h of n is, which is n plus 3. Again, I encourage whenever you have these guys to first practice writing those blank spots. So this time I'm not going to write it above it. I'm just going to write it right here. We have a g of a blank is going to be negative 2 times that blank plus a 2. There's the blank. There's the blank. And we're slotting in n plus 3. Let's do that simplifying. Negative 2n minus 6 plus 2. Negative 2n minus 4. And writing the original notation, g of h of n. Nice. One last question to do. So f of 3n plus 1, plugging that 3n where the g of n was, f of a blank is going to be 4 times that blank minus a 5. Plug in 3n plus 1, 3n plus 1. 4 times 3 is 12n, plus 4 minus 5. Final answer, 12n minus 1. Write it with that original notation. Beautiful. And that's it, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.